Hi, everybody. Okay, so today we're going to be working on the Chapter 9 practice test. So just a reminder, since it's been a while, make sure that you're writing down all of your work for this practice test on a piece of paper. You will be submitting a picture of your written work to the Google Classroom once you finish. And then also, this is a tool that you can use when you're actually taking the Chapter 9 test. So make sure that you're taking good, clear, organized notes. And then again, please correct your work with a correcting pen or pencil as I go through each problem. So you're going to try the problem on your own, and then I'm going to go through and correct them for you. And if you got it right, great. And if you didn't, you're going to correct your work so you do have the right work for the test. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so the first question is find the surface area of the prism. So go ahead and pick your answer. Okay, so what we are going to do for this problem is I want to make sure to read each problem carefully. So this says find the surface area of the prism. So first I'm going to notice what kind of a prism is this, okay? And how I can figure that out is I can figure that out by looking at the bases, okay? So the bases, remember, are these shapes, the shapes on the top and the bottom. I see that this is a rectangular prism, okay? And since it's a rectangular prism, I'm going to go back to my notes on rectangular or on prisms, which is in 9.1, and I'm going to find the surface area formula for a rectangular prism. So that is S equals 2 times L times W plus 2 times L times H plus 2 times W times H. Now I'm going to find the length of the rectangle. Now the length is the long side, so that's going to be 4. The width is the short side, so that's going to be 3. And the height of the prism is going to be 8. Now I'm just going to fill in the information into my formula. So 2L is 4. Make sure you use parentheses. W is 3 plus 2 times L is 4. H is 8 plus 2 times W is 3. H is 8. Okay, now let's multiply them together. So 2 times 4 times 3, that's going to give me 24, plus 2 times 4 times 8 is going to give me 64, plus 2 times 3 times 8 is going to give me 48. And then finally, my last step, just add all three of these numbers together, and I'm going to get 136, and then label units, centimeters, and surface area is always squared. So your answer should be 136 centimeters squared. Okay, make sure you have this down, and then we're going to move on. Number 2, find the surface area of the prism. Go ahead and pick your answer. Okay, so again, the first thing we want to do, we're finding the surface area, but then we need to decide what kind of a prism is this. And I look at the bases, so the shape on the top and the bottom, and I notice that that shape is a triangle. So I know that I'm working with a triangular prism. Now, remember, when we work with triangular prisms, we're just going to use the generic surface area of a prism formula. So that is S equals the area of the bases plus the area of the lateral faces. Okay? So first, let's find the area of the base. So the base is a triangle. So remember, area of a triangle is A equals base times height divided by 2, or you could say it as 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to look here, and the base of the triangle is always going to be that very bottom. So it's going to be, obviously, the base and the height always are what forms that right angle. So if you look here, that right angle is formed by that 4 centimeter line and that 6 centimeter line. So I know my base is 6 and my height is 4, then divide it by 2. That is going to give me 24 on the top divided by 2. 24 divided by 12, or 24 divided by 2 is going to give me 12. So I know the area of my triangular base is 12. Now we need to do our lateral faces, okay? So we're going to find the areas of our lateral faces. So I'm going to do some highlighting so it's a little bit easier. So first, let's do the left side lateral face, okay? So that left rectangle. So left side, and the area for the left side, well, these are just rectangles. And remember, to find the area of a rectangle, it's just length times width. So I see that the width is 5, and the length right here is going to be, well, just the height of that prism. So it's going to be 10. So we are going to do 10 times 5. So 10 times 5, that's going to give me 50. All right. Now I'm going to just erase that so we can keep track of everything. The next thing, let's find the right side. Okay, so let's find the right side. That's going to be in blue. So the right rectangle, that's going to be this area, right side. And again, it's a rectangle, so that's just going to be length times width. I see that the length is 10 and the width is 5. So I'm going to go 10 times 5 again, and that's going to give me 50. And then finally, my last thing that I want to find is that backside. And the backside, you kind of have to envision it a little bit. That backside is just going to be this rectangle right here. Okay, so the backside, you kind of have to envision it a little bit. And that's going to be, well, I know that the length is 10 and then the width is 6 because the width is right there. So 10 times 6, and that's going to give me 60. Okay, from here, we have the area of the lateral faces and we have the area of the base. So now we're going to plug it into this original formula that we wrote. So we're going to write S equals, now the area of the bases. There are 2 triangular bases, okay? There's not 1, there's 2. So I'm going to add 2 12s since there are 2 triangular bases, okay? Now let's add our lateral faces. So I'm going to add the left side, which is 50, going to add the right side, which is 50, going to add the back side, which is 60. Okay, I add those all together, I get 184, label my units, centimeters squared. So you should have gotten 184 centimeters squared. Okay, make sure you have this down and let's go to the next one. Okay, number 3, use the net to find the surface area of the regular pyramid. Go ahead, pick your answer. Okay, so surface area of a pyramid. Let's write down the equation. The surface area of pyramid is the area of the base, which is the bottom of the pyramid, plus the areas of the lateral faces. Okay, so the base is right here. The one that I just shaded in, and it gives us the area of the base. So that's kind of nice. So we can just write here 15.6 for area of the base, plus now we need to find the lateral faces area, okay? Now remember the lateral faces are going to be those triangles over here. So these 3 triangles, these are our lateral faces. So we need to find the area of this triangle. Area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. The base of these triangles, well, it gives us 6 feet right there. So that's going to be the base. The height is going to be that line right there. That equals 7. Divide it by 2. 6 times 7 is 42. Divided by 2 is going to give me 21. So I know the area of each of these lateral faces is 21. So now let's add it together. So we are going to add 3 21s because there are 3 lateral faces. So 21 plus 21 plus 21. And that's because these are 3 identical lateral faces. And then finally, I'm just going to add them all up, and that's going to give me 78.6 feet squared. 78.6 feet squared. Okay, make sure you have this down, and let's move on to the next one. Number 4, find the surface area of the square pyramid. Okay, go ahead, pick your answer. So for this one, we want surface area of the square pyramid. So again, write down the formula to start. S equals the area of the base plus the areas of the lateral faces. Okay, so it already tells us that it's a square pyramid. That means that the base right here is going to be a square. So I'm going to write, so our square base is going to be, well, that's just side times side. So if they tell us that this side is 6, that means this side is 6. So to get the area, we're just going to go 6 times 6, and that's going to give me 36. Now we need to find the area of our lateral faces. Okay, so our lateral faces, they're always identical. So let's take a peek at this triangle right here, okay? I know that the base is going to be 6, and it gives me that the height is going to be 8. So area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. If the base is 6, the height is 8. We divide it by 2. That's going to be 48 divided by 2, which is going to give me 24. Now we're going to plug it all into our equation. So the area of the square base is 36. So I write 36 plus area of lateral faces. Now we need to count how many lateral faces we have. Here's a hint. If you draw this square pyramid as a net, you are always going to have how many lateral faces depends on how many sides the base has. So since a square has 4 sides, that means you're going to have 4 lateral faces. So we're going to add this 24 4 times since there are 4 identical lateral faces. There are 4 identical lateral faces. Okay? Then let's add them all up. And that is going to give me 132. Label our units, millimeters squared. So that is the answer to number 4. Make sure you have this down, and let's go to the next one. Okay, number 5, find the surface area of the cylinder. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. Okay, pick your answer. Okay, so we want to find the surface area of a cylinder. So I'm going to go back to my notes, and I'm going to write down the equation for surface area of a cylinder. And that is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Okay, let's label a couple things. I know radius is from the center of the circle to any point on the circle. So I know my radius is 3, and I know my height is 7. So let's fill in this information. Now remember, leave pi until the very end. So it's going to be 2 pi, the radius is 3 squared, plus 2 pi, the radius is 3, the height is 7. Okay, so 2 pi, 3 squared is going to give me 9 because that's 3 times 3. So that's going to give me 9 plus 2 pi, 3 times 7 is going to give me 21. Now let's multiply the front number and the back number. So 2 times 9 is going to give me 18 pi plus 2 times 21 is going to give me 42 pi. Now, since they are like terms, since they both have a pi attached to them, let's add these two numbers together. 18 pi plus 42 pi is going to give me 60 pi. And now that I finally have it just simplified down to in terms of pi, we're going to plug in what pi equals, which is 3.14. Plug it into our calculators, and that's going to give us 188.4 feet squared. All right, because remember, surface area, the units are always squared. Okay, make sure you have this down, and let's move on to the next one. Okay, which value is closest to the lateral surface area of the cylinder? Read this question carefully. It says the lateral surface area of the cylinder. Okay, go ahead, pick your answer. Okay, so this is trick question, okay? You want to make sure that you read this and thought, oh, they don't want the full surface area of the cylinder. They just want the lateral surface area. So if we look at our equation of surface area of a cylinder, the first part is that surface area of the circle base. The last part is the surface area of the lateral face. So we are actually only going to write down 2 pi RH, okay? Because if you look back to that formula that I had you write down in that ed puzzle, this right here, the 2 pi RH, is the surface area of the lateral face. So let's fill it in. Our radius is 5 and our height is 8. So let's fill it in here. We have 2 pi, r is 5, h is 8. Now let's simplify it down. 5 times 8 is going to give me 40. Now finally multiply these two numbers together. That's going to give me 80 pi. Fill in 3.14 for pi. And then that's going to give me 251.2 feet squared. I look down here, and that is the second option. Okay, so this is the value that is closest to the lateral surface area of the cylinder. Okay, make sure you have this down, and let's go to the next one. Okay, it says order the solids by volume from least on top to greatest on bottom. Okay, and we're just going to change this so that it's easier in the answer to least on the left to greatest on the right. Okay, so write the least ones on the left, order it to the right. Okay, so go ahead, pick your answer. So we need to find the volume for each of these shapes. So let's remember the volume formula. volume equals the area of the base times the height of the prism. So here we go. The base. Now remember, the base is the shape that's on the top and the bottom. So I see that the base for this one is going to be a rectangle. So a rectangle, to find the area, it's going to be length times width. So to get this, I'm going to go 5 times 2. That's going to give me the area of the base. And then multiply it by the height, which is 11. So I'm just going to multiply all 3 of these numbers together, and that's going to give me 110 feet. Remember, volume is, the units are always cubed. Okay, so this one is 110 feet cubed. Now let's look here. This is a triangular base. So we need to find the area of the triangular base. So let's find the area of the base. It's going to be base times height divided by 2. I see the base of this triangle is 6, and the height of the triangle is 4. And I'm going to divide it by 2. So that's going to give me 12 for the area of the base. Now let's plug it into this equation. So volume equals the area of the base is 12, and the height of the prism is, it looks like 8. I'm going to multiply that number together. That's going to give me 96 feet cubed. Okay, that's the area of the triangular prism. Now, finally, the pentagonal prism. They give us the area of the base, so that's kind of nice. So we just write down 56, multiply it with the height, which is 3. And when I do that, that's going to give me 168 feet cubed. Okay, so now I have all the volumes. So now it says order the solids by volume from least to greatest. So from least to greatest, from left to right. So your answer should be, so it wants least first. So that's going to give you the triangular prism first, then the rectangular, then the pentagonal. Okay, so that should be your answer. You should have picked triangular first, then rectangular, then pentagonal. All right, make sure you have that down, and let's go to the next one. Okay, compare the dimensions of the prisms. How many times greater is the surface area of the green prism than the surface area of the blue prism? So you're going to find out how many times greater the surface area of the green prism is from the blue prism. Okay, go ahead, pick your answer. Okay, so again, these are rectangular prisms, and I know that because I look at the base, and I know that the base is a rectangle. So let's write down the surface area formula for a rectangular prism. That is 2 times L times W plus 2 times L times H plus 2 times W times H. Okay, so let's find the blue one first. The blue one. Let's plug it in. I know that for the blue one, my length is 4, my width is 2, and my height is 10. So let's plug it in. Surface area equals 2 times the length is 4, the width is 2, plus 2 times the length is 4, the height is 10, plus 2 times the width is 2, the height is 10. Okay, now let's multiply those numbers together. 2 times 4 times 2 is going to give me 16. Plus 2 times 4 times 10 is going to give me 80. Plus 2 times 2 times 10 is going to give me 40. Add these numbers together, and I get 136 centimeters squared. Now let's find the surface area for the green prism. And that's going to give me, well, first, let's find the length. The length is 10. The width is 5. And the height is 25. So let's fill it in. 2, the length is 10, the width is 5, plus 2, the length is 10, the height is 25, plus 2, the width is 5, the height is 25. Okay, let's multiply the numbers together. 2 times 10 times 5 will give me 100, plus 2 times 10 times 25 will give me 500, plus 2 times 5 times 25 will give me 250. Add them all together, and I get 850 centimeters squared. So now it wants to know how many times bigger the green prism is. So to get this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide 850 by 136, because that's going to tell me how many times bigger it is than the blue prism. So I'm going to go, my final step is going to be to do 850 divided by 136. And I get that that is 6.25 times greater. Okay, so that is how you find your final answer. Don't forget that last step on the test. Okay, make sure you have this down and let's move on. Choose a statement that best describes the error in finding the volume of the solid. Okay, is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? Or is it 4? So you're finding the error in how they found the volume of the solid. So pick your answer. Okay, so I'm just going to check out the equation. So volume is the area of the base times the height. So that is correct. But let's figure out what shape is the base. Well, I know that the base is a triangle. Okay. So I know that to find the area of a triangle, it is base times height divided by 2 or 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to look here. And it looks like when they find the area of the base, they're not dividing it by 2 or multiplying it by 1/2. So I'm going to look down here and see if there is that answer. Well, it says a factor of 1/2 should have been included. So it should have been included right in this step. There should have been a 1/2 here. So I know that 3 is where they made their error. Okay, so make sure you have that down and let's move on. Okay, finally, you are going to find the volume of the composite solid. So break it into 2 shapes, and then I would find the area of both, or sorry, find the volume of both, and then go from there. Okay, pick your answer. Okay, so I'm going to break it into a couple different shapes. So on the top is going to be a rectangular pyramid. So it's a rectangular pyramid on top, and it is a rectangular prism on the bottom. So let's find the volume. We're finding the volume. So first, let's find the volume of the rectangular pyramid, okay? So to do this, I'm going to go back to my notes and find the volume for a rectangular pyramid. Now, the volume to find a pyramid is 1/3 area of the base times the height, okay? So I know I'm looking right here. So the base is a rectangle. So to find the area of the rectangle, it's going to be the length times the width. And I know if this is 5, that means this is 5. If this is 4, that means this is 4. So I'm going to do 1/3 to find the area of the rectangular base. It's going to be 5 times 4. And then the height of the pyramid is 6. Okay, so I'm just going to add all those or multiply those numbers together. So it's going to be 1/3 times 120. And remember that multiplying it by 1/3 is the same as dividing it by 3. So I'm just going to divide 120 by 3, and that's going to give me 40 centimeters cubed. Okay, now let's find the volume of the rectangular prism. So remember, to find the volume of a rectangular prism, its volume equals the area of the base times height. And remember, the base is a rectangle, so it's going to be length times width. So it's going to be 5 times 4. And the height of the prism is 2. So we're going to multiply it by 2. And that gives me 40 centimeters cubed as well. So now finally, to find the volume of the whole composite figure, we're just going to add those two together. So the volume equals 40 plus 40. That's going to give me 80 centimeters cubed. So that should be your answer. Okay, awesome job. This is the last question, so make sure you have all of these notes down. You're now going to go take a picture of these notes and upload it to the Google Classroom. Make sure you use this video and also use your notes to help you on the test because the test will look very similar to this. Okay, nice work, and thanks for watching.